I mean, I would agree that at certain ages you're going to be doing physical harm and probably mental harm. So you do need a lower bound, obviously. Maybe it's 12, maybe it's 13, maybe it's 10, who knows. But if I had to give you an age, I would say if it's pre-pubertal, that there needs that would probably be a problem.
Well, let's say that there's early in your puberty now. So let's say you're talking about 10 and below. Mm-hmm. So an 11-year-old could give sexual consent. That's a 6th grader.
Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, I have to, according to my side of the argument, I have to agree to that, and I don't know that I necessarily disagree with it.
Well, I would say investigate, just like.
Do you think that they, like, do they understand what they're doing by giving consent to a 35-year-old versus a 17-year-old who gives consent?
I think that this country tends to underestimate the abilities of an 11-year-old. 6th
grade girl, though, they're a lot more suggestible, a lot more. You can, I don't know. This is the age where they start becoming infatuated with boys, and an old man paying attention, like whatever, they're not old, but 35-year-old. Let's say in terms of an older man paying attention to her like this is flattering, to say the least, we'll say, to some girls. And at 17...
That depends on the way she was raised, though.
And
that depends on how her parents raised her. I mean...
You have to also look at the issue of dominance and subordinates. Like, you're looking at a 35-year-old, they see a father figure. And he's
taking... that the man is 35 years old.
I'm throwing out arbitrary gender here.
No, it wasn't just you. Everyone goes to the outside. Because
it works well, but I mean that's the argument, is that they see this person, they're taught that, you know, adults are to be trusted, friends of the family are to be trusted, and they kind of fall into that trap that, well, he's an adult, he knows what's right, what's wrong, this must be right, even though there are huge implications for dating a 35-year-old when you're 11. And I think every girl does. I think we all pretend to be older and pretend to be more mature, but in reality you're not that mature. It would be difficult to decide if this girl is able to consent to sex. What questions would you ask? What criteria would you...
The general law is that they act with volition, that you can demonstrate the act with volition, and they understand the nature and consequences of the acts. Those are the conditions for informed consent. But I just want to divert this for a second. Presume for a minute that parents of 6th grade, 11-year-old girls are listening to this, and they're horrified with your perspective. You know, knowing these girls or boys at that age, and thinking of 7th and 8th, 9th graders as well, knowing them in their homes and seeing them with their friends, and they just think, you know, you're out of your mind to think that.
But the first thing we should do is go home and talk to the daughters and sons, and like explain to them what's right, what's wrong. Like, you know, I guess educate them. So not just go, oh, I'm terrified, keep my kids away from everybody else.
Well, but I mean, their concern would be that you would be lowering the age to a place where they couldn't make informed consent. They couldn't provide informed consent because they didn't really have a full understanding of the nature and consequences of their acts.
There's a line that nature has set, which is puberty. And once you reach puberty, your body is capable of reproducing, which to me would imply that that's your natural time to be able to start engaging in sexual relations. It doesn't seem like a... if pleasure is... What?
In this society, that age is lowering.
And
a trend right now in America, the age of onset of puberty in females is getting younger.
But I don't think it necessarily means that they're more and more
the difference between
have sex.
The difference between us and another group of people is that we have a greater degree of mental sophistication, where like there's more going on and there's more things to worry about with a child having sex. There's this idea of informed consent that maybe doesn't exist in other situations, like with certain types of animals.
I don't know, I just think it's funny that you guys have taken the line that, you know, girls are hitting puberty at an early age, thus they are physically able to have sex, thus it's natural. That there's not, maybe that we haven't proved in society to be able to overcome...
Well, I mean, it can be proved by like a couple hundred years ago, that's natural. I mean, like, this is how it was a century or two ago, like, and still in certain areas of the world. It is completely normal and accepted by society for a 12-year-old girl to, when she hits that age of puberty, she begins having sexual relationships with an adult.
But I mean, I would just like to argue, I mean, let's just argue with American culture that that you're assuming that with physiological development comes emotional development. And
I think that's why those lines need to be there. I mean, it may be the natural behavior to engage in. I just don't think that the ability to make the proper decision is there at that age. I think 18 is a good age, and I think the way it's set up now that I'd say from 14 and up, you have a better idea of what you're doing, and I have much less of a problem with a 15-year-old and a 21-year-old or a 22-year-old than I do a 13-year-old. I think there's a big difference there.
No, you brought up a good point. Like, our bodies naturally evolve like sooner than our minds. So, like, we might be ready physically, naturally we are ready, but mentally we're not.